I always say, so when I started this whole thing a couple of months ago, people started asking me date. I can talk a lot about dating and stuff like that. I'm a well-versed man on that topic, but I stick away from it because I don't want to be one of these people. And women shouldn't be your problem. You need to be a man of substance to come across to women as a good man. So if you're attracting, so this is the problem with these shows, right? In these shows, everybody's a hoe. You're a high value man. You need to have sex with 100 women, blah, blah, blah. If you're attracting women like that, there's something inherently wrong with you.
Yes.
When I'm in my element, when I'm the man of substance, I rarely attract women like that.
Yes, agreed.
Because they know I'm not that guy. Instead, I'm attracting beautiful women,
yes,
and good women.
Yes.
It's the same thing. Instead of saying that, these people purport this idea that you have to be this man, you have to be this high value man, which they cannot apparently do.
Well, the problem is because when the term high value is used, nothing about morality and character comes into it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, you can be some superstar rapper who's a high value in terms of your status, in terms of your money, in terms of your fame, whatever. You're high value by this definition. But
You're talking about yourself, no?
What about your? But what about high character? Right? Yeah. I'd love to see more conversations about high character.
Yes.
Right? What about your values? What about your morals? What about your self-control? What about your discipline? What about your worldview? All of these things, right? You could be high value materially and be an utter scumbag.
Yeah.
Right? Just like a woman can be beautiful. Like she could be young and very beautiful.
Of course.
But her personality and her morality and her everything could be completely whacked out. I mean, so from the man and the female perspective, that's important, right? If you're just talking about a female's value purely in terms of youth and beauty, and you're not talking about character and morals,
cooking and cleaning, just
yeah. But even those things often don't even come into it. It's just purely, age and beauty, and age and beauty matter, right, for fertility. But like, that's one thing. But with men, yes, status and money matters.
Oh, of course.
But I'm sure you can think of many people or who are out there who are men with status and money, and they are morally broken. They're spiritual
bankrupt.
deficit. They're bankrupt. Perfect term. They're like you wouldn't want your child, your daughter who grows. You wouldn't want her dating. This man might be high status, but don't even. Yeah, that's not the guy to chase. Yeah. Right? He's going to mistreat you. He's going to like this and this.
This example they keep saying, if Chris Brown comes to a place and Chris Brown, this girl will fuck Chris Brown, she knows Chris Brown fuck. But those are not kind of women we are talking about. There's a certain part of society that you think every woman, like a woman in the Middle East, Chris Brown, she's going to, no, she has a boyfriend, family, whatever. No. Her father's going to kick her ass if she does that. They avoid this whole part of society and talk about this tiny, maybe 10%, 20% Western world. I was like, this is how women are. That's completely wrong diagnosis of the problem. We're not talking about those women. Yeah. If you're attracting through your force, you are one amongst them. You are one of them.
Yeah, but that's part of the problem, because when you promote just a hedonistic lifestyle, here's something that no one really talks about, right? Which is that, what's the best one? Let me word this correctly. Number one, you attract people with whatever you attract them with. But number two, the things that men have a sort of dual mating strategy, don't we? Right? So there's and I think some women don't really know this, but men kind of categorize women in different ways, right? So you use the term 304 or like whatever, right? So there are women who, if a man is seeking just pleasure and hedonism and easy access to sex or whatever, he'll select women based off of that.
Correct.
So in that case, he's actually looking for promiscuous women. He is selecting, consciously or unconsciously, he's selecting for a promiscuous woman, right? And then a man who is actually looking for a woman who's quote unquote wife material, someone who could marry, who could be the mother of children, whatever, that's like a whole different filter. And in fact, if you're looking for the former, women who display the latter, you'll be put off by them. Because it's like, that's too hard, right? You're not going to get easy sex. You're not going to get, right? You're not going to just get the entertainment, because they want like the real commitment, right?
Correct.
So if you're looking for the real commitment, you filter out the girls who are, who are doing OnlyFans and do it. Like, you're not even interested. It doesn't matter if they're pretty. You're like, no.
Exactly,
You're like, look, I'm looking for a wife and a mother of my children. I'm not even interested in that. So depending on the filter you're looking through, you focus on, whatever the human mind and eye focuses on, it, and you give energy to it, it like grows, and that's what you see.
Exactly.
Right? If you've got a certain watch you want to buy or a certain car you want to buy,
You see it everywhere.
You see it everywhere.
Yeah.
You see it everywhere.
Yeah.
So if you're focusing on this type, like you're now blind, just like people will, complain that sometimes that women only see the top sort of percent of these high value men and that 90% of men are invisible. That's also bullcrap, right? Because 90% of I go outside I see couples everywhere, whatever city, whatever country I'm in, I see normal men and normal women and they're coupled up and they've got that's everywhere. The idea that a normal guy or a normal woman is just kind of hopeless and it's just all about the top 1%, 2%, 5%. It's okay, if you're aiming for certain things, sure. But the idea that if you're not in the top 5% of men, that it's hopeless for, I'm that's just not true. Open your eyes, walk around, get off the internet, go outside, and you will see by the billions just normal couples, just coupled up together. Yeah. The woman might not look like a supermodel. The man might not be 6'5" with ripped abs and the 8-figure bank account, but they're doing fine and they like each other. They love each other. They've got their family. They're stable, whatever. So I think the apex fallacy sort of runs in both directions, where all the focus is on the, quote unquote high value man, and all the focus is on the model tier, super, whatever woman, girlfriend, and
a 9 or a 10.
You're kind of ignoring.
She only talks to rich guys. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, those women do exist, and those men do exist, but it's 90.
But there are 9 on 10s in villages and normal cities and so on who don't have a big Instagram.
Here's another big one that you never hear mentioned on these things: is you only need to find one. You don't have to.
No.
You don't have to date the entire world.
No, men cheat all the time. So come on.
You don't have to date right. So if you're a woman who is complaining about men being terrible and all the men are this, or you're a man and you're complaining about all the women being terrible and this and this and this, if honestly, this might sound harsh. If you cannot find one, you've got an issue. You've got a personal. No, really.
I know what you mean.
If you're either oftentimes you need to just lower your standards, right? Men and women, you might need to lower your standards a little bit, but also you're not even close to your potential. If you're a man and you're really on your game and you're fulfilling your potential and you're caring about your appearance, your looks, your handling, your job, your finances, your career, everything, there will be women who are interested in you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
If you're a woman and you do look after yourself and you maintain a healthy body weight and you look good and you have a kind, sweet person, there will be men lined up. Whether or not you're interested in those men, look, take your pick. But there's no woman who has all these things I just said. And by the way, that's not some crazy high bar. Maintain a healthy body weight, groom yourself well, look good, take care of your appearance, be kind, be feminine, be I'm not telling you to be the next Elon Musk. Right? But if you do that, there is no way on earth you do not have men who are interested in you. Just like I said, as a man, if you get your men, it's actually harder. But you get your stuff together, and there will be female interest, and you don't need to date all the hundreds of millions or billions of women in the world. I recognize there's a lot of bad men and bad women out there, but there are also billions, at a minimum, millions, hundreds of millions of great ones, and potentially millions of people who would be good for you. You just need to find one. So,
that's a good message.
Give people some hope.
That's a good message. You don't have to pick sides. You can have a neutral side and understand that these dynamics do exist, but you don't have to play to those dynamics.
You don't have to play them. Be the exception.
Yeah.
Be the exception. If you're in somewhere that's if you're in some place it's super crazy and the dating market is crazy and the men and the women are whatever, even in the worst places, even in the worst dating markets, even if you're in a Miami or you're in an LA or in a New York or whatever, you're in some crazy environment, even in those cities, these are cities of millions of people.
Yep.
Millions and millions of people. There's not another person of the opposite sex who shares your values and who kind of wants the same thing you are.
About that, right? Like you said, it's two different things. It's about
look.
Hedonism and looking cool on Instagram.
Yeah. You might not be able to find 100 of them, or find 100 of them who also like you. But you can find one, bro. You can find one. You can find one. And if you can't, hey, get your stuff in order.
I say this quite a lot on Twitter because Red Pill annoys me a lot. And a lot of guys, it doesn't, man, because I look up, now I've become the man And I look up to these people who are advising these young men, and I look at them. One, you are not even financially successful. You look spiritually bankrupt, and you have these ideas which are extremes. Applies to some situations, but not the 90% of the population. And lots of people are following you for different things. And these are the leaders. So look to the leaders, how they are, and then decide if the ideology even makes sense. But a lot of people are not, because they are in the forefront of the media. These ideas have been pushed. Yeah. I'm not saying it's as bad as transgenderism, but it kind of changes young men's mind.
Everything needs to be, look, I think one of the problems that's happening online perhaps is that, look, number one, I've said this many times before, I say eat the meat, spit out the bones. So in all these different corners of the internet and different influencers, YouTubers, podcasters, whatever, myself, right? There will be things that you disagree and that you agree with and you disagree with. There will be things that you find helpful and things that are unhelpful. There will be things you aspire to in that person and things you don't aspire to. So be judicious, and you don't need to swallow it whole, right? Just because your favorite podcaster says something, it doesn't mean like you have to literally take every single thing they say as gospel and enact that exact thing. You can. I listen to all sorts of stuff, right? And it's like I take the things that are truthful and useful and helpful. But when it comes to your own aspiration, see what the thing you aspire. Look, if your aspiration is to be married and have 5 children, then don't be taking your advice from like single people who are pushing the hedonism and are out there in the streets and who are. No, talk to people who are married.
Exactly.
And have a bunch of kids.
Thing to do,
right? Like talk to the people who have done the thing and are doing the thing.
Yeah.
And get advice from them. Learn about them. Learn about the, learn about the potential risks. Learn about the advantages, the disadvantages. See how they did it. How did they, do you know what, as someone who does want to be and will be married and have kids in the future, I'm so curious. When I meet parents, when I meet married couples, I'm always curious. Like, how did you meet each other? I'll ask the woman, how did, if I get in a deep conversation, how did you know that was the right man to marry? Ask the man, how did you, I talked to my parents about this, right? Ask my dad, like, how did you know how did you know she was the one? Like, what was the thing? I'll ask my mom, like, how did you know? Like,
I know, shut up, boy.
Yeah, right.
And you always knew.
Because that's how you learn.
Yeah.
And these are people I'm like, oh, wow, okay, cool. Like, they're the ones doing what I aspire to.
Yeah.
So cool. I can listen to a 25-year-old on the internet who's single and not even in a relationship and is just out there in the streets and whatever, and listen to him on marriage and children. But like, why? Well, I can even listen to it, but listening to it doesn't mean I need to like absorb it and take it all as gospel. It's like, okay, I've heard this perspective. Okay, maybe there's some interesting points, right? But then also let me hear this perspective. Let me hear this person. And I think part of the problem as well is that most people who are married and have children and whatever, like most of those people are not running podcasts and active on social media.
That is what I'm saying. They're not at the front. They don't have time for this shit.
They're not really out there like that. So people are also getting a kind of very skewed, self-selected percentage of the convo. But I think it's important to hear it all and then be judicious in what you use.